Hi, I'm Luke Servelt. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Gaffer. It's time for travel talk, and today's topic is parking. Now you might think, parking, what's the big deal? Well, it is kind of a big deal when you're in an urban setting. If you're in the suburbs, if you're in a rural setting, yeah, not such a big deal. But as soon as you get to a city where parking is a little tighter, especially a place like San Francisco, then it's good to know that there are ways of getting parking permitted that just eases the stress level of folks who have larger vehicles that should be close to set throughout the day. Often people think like, oh, well, you know, if you're like camera department or audio department, we can just offload those cases and then we can go park the vehicle. Well, that's not so easy for like our department or G&E, because here you have this truck. Yes, it's got carts, and yes, you can roll those off, and yes, you can, consolidate as best you can, but there's all kinds of odd things like speed rail, like ladders, like other tchotchkes that you may or may not know that you'll need for your shoot day. It's good to be able to have access to that stuff throughout the day. If you're on a commercial, if you're on a feature, hey, on features you have a transpo captain. So taking care of parking is a known quantity. It's on everybody's radar. But on lower level jobs, it's not a gimme. And you would think a producer would be like, oh yeah, I got to think about that. No, not necessarily. So I just wanted to bring it up as a topic, something that is always on my radar, because I have a small box truck. It's a 2-ton. It can fit in a regular spot, but it can't fit in most covered garages. And that would be true for a Sprinter as well. As soon as you get beyond well, even most 1-tons, if they have a rack on them of any sort, you really need to have open air parking. And I've been told, hey, just come a half hour earlier. Oh, yeah, that'll work. Often you're in neighborhoods that have, you need to have a special sticker if you're going to stay there for longer than an hour or 2 hours. If you're in metered parking areas downtown, sometimes you can find a spot. And in San Francisco, you have the Pay by Phone app, which is fantastic, and you can stay there all day. Sometimes, though, it's 2 hours or 4 hours as a limit. And then, yeah, you can go between other people's credit cards to sort of prolong your time there. But you're lucky if you get a space. And often that fills up, so if you don't have an early call time, forget it. So then you're double parking, you're trying to offload, and then you have to go far afield to park. Now you're gone. You're not helping with the setup. You're not helping with the breakdown or whatever it is. And if you think you have everything, but then you need something, someone says, hey, do you have such and such? And you go, yes, I do, but it's on the truck. Yeah, it's like a little thing that can become a big thing. So it's really nice to think ahead and have a place for the grip truck, for our department, for whoever needs that. Now, in San Francisco, there's actually a great alternative. You can go through the San Francisco Film Commission and you can find it all online. There's a stack of paperwork you have to do, but it's very doable. And so on a recent job, we were doing a reoccurring project that we do every year, and it's at the Fairmont Hotel, so up in Nob Hill. There's absolutely no parking there, and if there's parking, it's on a really steep hill. I asked the producer, hey, do you mind if I do the legwork? Could we get posted parking? He's like, yeah, I'd like to see a smile on your face. So I'm like, right on. Because in the past we've had to go, find a hotel down the hill or someone that would allow a larger vehicle to be in their spot.
Actually, parking is very simple in San Francisco. All you need to do is to submit a permit application with us. We do require 4 business days to process a permit, but basically you submit a map that shows where you want to have your parking, and we work with you to get that in place. What we do is look at it on Google Maps and make sure that there's no towaway there or any other restrictions at that time, like street cleaning. And then we will input your no parking map into our no parking tow zone database that's used by various agencies in the city. And then we simply send your map to whoever you have decided is going to post for you. We have 4 different vendors on our website that you can choose from. We send them the map and they put up the posting for you. The use agreement is pretty straightforward. It's basically your company name and address and contact information. And then basically, if you were just taking out parking and shooting on a private residence, you would just put on your location page the street where you want your parking. If you're shooting various scenes in the city, you would have different locations listed on your location page. And what we would want after that is insurance for your company. We basically require $1 million per occurrence and $2 million aggregate for commercial and auto and workman's comp. But if you're all independent contractors, then you can get a waiver for workman's comp. You just check a box at the end of the permit and we submit that to our risk management group and they sign off, and then you don't have to provide workman's comp. And then just a parking map. You don't have to come into the office to do anything, not even to pay. We can give you a credit card link to pay. And all we need from you is at the end of the production, you mail us the wet copy of the signature page from your permit, because we do have to have an original signature on file. I think a lot of people think that filming in San Francisco is daunting, but really our office strives to make this a really easy process, and I have an amazing staff who works really well with productions. Everyone's really friendly, working really hard to make your production go smoothly, and so just know that we're going to hold your hand and, you know, figure out what you need and we'll help you make it work.
You can also pay by check and go into City Hall, find the film office, and pay in person. So as part of the paperwork, you get a Google map and you X off the parking spots that you want. And for a small production, if you get 4 or 5 spots, it's $200 a day. And there's all kinds of other parameters, if you want to stay overnight, there's, if you have more than that, then it's a bigger deal and you have to, tell the neighborhood that this is what you're going to be doing. And then you can either put up the signage yourself or you can pay someone. And there are people that do this for a living and they do it quite inexpensively.
Hi, my name's Harry Stein. I'm the owner of Up and Down Signs. Been doing posting for about 25 years, putting up no parking signs for film projects and parades and anybody else who needs signs put up. I don't have anything, thank God, to do with the permitting or deal with bureaucracy, but once filmers decide where they want to park and do their dealing with the film offices, and I've gone as far as Eureka and as far down as LA, so different cities have different processes, but once they do that business, then they send me the completed diagrams. As you can see, once the film office issues a permit number, they then send me a schematic of where the parking is to be. This one is in Sacramento, which we're standing on at this cross street of Mason. And then I put them up depending on the situation, either tie them or put them on barricades or pylons. And it has where the address is, the street and the address, the time and date, and then the permit number and a phone number in case they need to contact what the project's going on. It's on SF Film Office signs, so that's the process. Then I come and check them the night before to make sure that they're still in place, and if not, replace them, because weather or people tend to sometimes move them or take them down. I'd rather have people say that I'm inexpensive than over the top. And so I do hear that over the years. People say I should charge more, but it's been able to keep 3 kids in shoes and Wheaties, and that's made me happy.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. has happened recently that I've noticed. There were great places like in South Park where you could park a large size vehicle, pay by phone, and stay there all day. It was wonderful if you were working at Moscone Center, but then, you know, those city bikes or whatever took up a whole chunk of that parking. Now, it's great that people are using those bikes, fantastic, but it was really difficult to see that happen in a perfect place for a grip truck. So just sort of a side note, for the interview with the film commissioner, I just went with one light, so it's a 3x3 Aladdin, and with the soft box and the soft crate, and then we've got windows behind her.
And the window is giving her a nice opposite key scratch, which works out.
With a new frame for that 3x3 that the good folks at American made up for me.
So this is the first iteration of this frame. In the second go round, we'll take those sides and they'll all break down in half again. And that way all the pieces can fit in a small carry-on. The innovation here is that the baby pin can be wherever you want it. It can be down on the bottom, it can be perpendicular out the back, it can be on top, wherever. On top of the snap bag, I'm using a snap grid from DOP Choice / Rag Place. I also have another one that they made for me that you can turn 90 degrees and it gives you 50 degree, 30 degrees one way, 50 degrees another way. We'll talk about that later. So I'm packing everything into a soft tripod case, a carry-on, and a backpack. In retrospect, I should have had a tripod, keep that interview a little more steady, but it worked.